Hi everyone, this is video 2 of finding your ideal diet. Now if you remember in video 1, we started to really discuss how to find your ideal diet and really what the core problems were. And we discussed this notion of discipline. Now for most of us, we're constantly told, it's not the diet that's the problem, is that you haven't found discipline. And I actually think that that's wrong. I think the problem is not discipline, is that you haven't found the diet that works for you and you haven't addressed your root cause, right? And that's why in that video we went over an exercise to help you figure out the root cause of why you haven't seen results yet. Because the reality is, it doesn't matter how good you eat, it doesn't matter how clean your diet is, you could be eating all the best things in the world and you won't see results until you address your root cause. And until you address your root cause, you're not going to see results and you're not going to stay motivated to continue on eating well. Hence, you're not going to get discipline. So really the problem isn't discipline. The problem is you haven't seen results yet because you haven't addressed the root cause yet, right? So until you address the root cause, whatever that was, whether that was something with your family, relationships, whatever that core stressor is that you haven't really figured out how to navigate yet, or even sleep or your career or whatever that was that you determined in your last video of really what your root cause is, until you figure that out, until you take the steps to fixing that and to overcoming that so it becomes a more balanced, happy part of your life, you're not going to see results. So even if you try a diet for a short time, you're not going to stick with it because you're not seeing results because you haven't addressed the root cause, right? So it's a domino effect. So you really got to address that root cause first, or in conjunction with, because it doesn't matter what diet you use. It doesn't matter how good you eat. You're not really going to see results until you figure that out first. And then once you figure that out, and once you start seeing results, and once you start applying the food part of it, and you really get compounded results, now you're like, oh my God, I'm actually seeing things happening, and your motivation spikes, your confidence spikes, and that's when the discipline actually appears because you're actually getting something that works for you. Now today I'm going to take it one step further and teach you how to adjust your food choices in the moment. So like your day-to-day food choices, so you're always seeing results and you're always able to course correct in the moment because you know what foods are benefiting you and which foods are not, and you know which foods are feeling your best. But first, let's just quickly recap who I am for a second and, where did I come from. And if you remember, my name is Leah Faraday. I'm an integrative nutrition coach. My background is actually chemistry, as I explained in the last video, but I became a nutrition health coach after teaching nutrition science for 8 years. Well, I became a coach in the midst of that, but I first started teaching nutrition, loved it, saw massive results in my students, and was like, how can I do this for the masses? And that's what led me going back to school to become a health coach. So now I blend the two together. I teach nutrition both in these videos and in my courses and everywhere, and I also coach on top of that, and I kind of blend the two together. So I'm really passionate about teaching this stuff because I think that everyone should find that elusive motivation and discipline, if you will, and it should become easy. And that's why the last video I addressed the big picture, really, the root cause, the big picture stuff. And in this video I'm going to address the day-to-day stuff, because when you begin working all these things, magic happens. Suddenly results become effortless. You become confident and self-assured. And when you're more confident and self-assured with yourself, this opens up an entirely new world from you, because you can all of a sudden do things that you were too maybe afraid to do before, maybe you were too intimidated, or maybe you're just too tired, and the lack of motivation, lack of productivity, maybe all these things were preventing you from maybe advancing in your career or going into a better relationship or finding a new partner, or even just like the nitty-gritty of just being more successful and getting more money because you're showing up better. So it matters because this is your life. And really, it's not a coincidence that the happiest and the most successful people work on themselves. I mean, think about the top successful people like Oprah Winfrey, or even Elon Musk. I know how controversial he is, but even look at him. He those people, they prioritize eating well, they prioritize exercising, and they prioritize themselves. And that's really why they're able to achieve so much. I mean, hate them or not, Elon Musk was like, what, 1 million companies, and he's successful in most of them. So like, he's clearly doing something. But like, they exercise, they eat right, they do the proper things. So they're able to have the energy to get it all done, and stress becomes manageable, and they don't allow obstacles or life obstacles get in their way of their goals and their dreams. And the reality is, you shouldn't either. You're really no different than they are. You just haven't maybe worked on the things holding you back that's probably preventing you from going after the big scary stuff or the big dreams that you should be going after. So some things people always ask me, okay, well, maybe I can't find my root cause, or, what if I don't know where to begin? And I want to ask you, and this is you, really take a second and think about, okay, thinking about your day-to-day right now, where are you most stressed? What area in your life are you the most anxious about? That's probably the area that you might need to work on the most. The thing that's really like, that tightness in your chest, or like, oh, like I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? That is probably the area that's the biggest struggle for you. So that's probably the thing that you probably should be thinking about working on. But even if it's too big, so if it's something, like a massive career change, like you hate your job and you gotta move, things like that don't change overnight. And I know, because I was in that place. I used to, let's say 2000, where are we, 2023 now, so like 10 years ago, I had a completely different life, different job. I worked for a pharmaceutical company, one of the biggest out there, so major corporation, and I was miserable. I was stressed constantly, and that was my root cause. Really, it wasn't stress in itself. It was that the job didn't suit me. It was a very stressful work environment, a work environment that did not suit me. And that's why at that time I was very unhealthy. And no matter how well I exercised, because I exercised literally like every day back then, and no matter how well I ate, none of it changed anything, because the root cause, the fact that I hated my job and that I was in a job that did not suit me, wasn't changing. So until I started taking this baby steps, right? That's when things finally changed, and that's when my health started to come around. It actually changed quite quickly, my health. So the moment I even started working on myself, even started working on how to get out of that situation, things changed. So even the baby steps, you will see change quite quickly. So I don't want you to think you can move mountains overnight, right? It doesn't work that way. So don't feel intimidated or overwhelmed. Just think of little tiny things you can do. And if you need help with this, you can feel free to, private message me, and I would love to talk to you. Or maybe you need somebody else to talk to. I mean, finding other people to help you, outside help, is actually really important and really beneficial, especially if you feel overwhelmed. You don't know where to start, or what the problem is, but you don't know how to handle it. Maybe another coach or a therapist or a friend or a family member, somebody that you can talk to, and then maybe start working it out. That'll actually make a really big difference. Or maybe you did find your root cause and you are taking the steps to work on it and to figure it out, and you are starting to come out of it, and you still feel like the food isn't working, or you still are not seeing progress. Now that is what I'm going to address today. So if that's where you think you are, or if even if you're afraid that the food's not going to work, or you're afraid it's going to get overcomplicated, or something like that, today I'm going to explain to you how to make it simple, and also what to do now to address the food that could be holding you back from seeing progress today. That is what we're going to go over today. So how can we make better food decisions in the moment, like right now, today? Effectively, how do we learn how to intuitively eat? And that's the exercise I'm going to teach you today. So the exercise, it might seem a little intimidating whenever I, tell this to people up front. They're always like, oh my God. But it's not as scary as I think you're making, many people really think. There's a lot of background, I guess, behind it. But so I'll explain it to you, and then we'll kind of go into it. So the exercise that I want you to do, especially if you feel like you are eating the right things, or even if you don't really know where to start with food, is also a really excellent exercise. I want you to start tracking your moods. and possibly physical symptoms if you have them, for a few days. Doesn't feel like long duration, just a few days. And by doing this, you're starting to teach yourself how to be more present, how to be more in the moment, and more in tuned with what your body is doing and how it's reacting towards things, like towards all the stuff around us. Because think about it, most of us are just going through the motions of our daily routines, right? We're jumping from A to B, B to B to C, blah, blah, blah. We're going to work, we're commuting, we're working, then we come home, we make dinner, we do the bedtime, and then you know what I mean? We're kind of just doing the motions of the day to day. So we're really not being present in what's happening with our personal selves, with our personal body. A lot of things we push aside, we kind of just get used to it because we don't realize that maybe it should not be happening, or we're just too in the midst of life that we're just kind of literally ignoring our body. So when you start writing it down and you start paying attention to these things, suddenly things change. And you start to pay more attention to what your body is literally doing, and it actually creates like a ripple effect. So what I want you to do, I really want you to try writing these things down, because the reality is you're not going to remember how you felt this morning. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even remember how I felt when I woke up this morning. So you just don't remember these things because we just don't have memories like that because we're too busy. So I really recommend you do write this down and timestamp it and try to do it like in real time, in the moment. And I actually have a free downloadable tracker sheet to help you if you want to print something out. That'll actually give you something to write down, or if you want to put like an app on your phone. You know what I mean? I know many people, they put it on their phones and they do it that way because your phone's always on you. So whatever you do is totally up to you. But like I said, if I have something to download, if you want something physical to actually write down to help. So the things that I want you to write down is your sleep patterns. How well did you sleep last night? Did you go to bed on time? Did you go to bed late? Did you have insomnia? Did you wake up many times over the night? Did you find it hard to get to sleep? Did you feel like you had quality sleep? So really write, the nitty gritty of your sleep down. When you woke up this morning, did you have to hit the snooze button like 10 times? Those things actually make a big difference, and they matter to the big picture. Another thing to track is your energy fluctuations throughout the day. So when you wake up, how energized were you? After breakfast, how energized were you? Really, because you're going to fluctuate throughout the day. Did you have brain fog? Did you feel really energized and motivated to do things? Did you feel maybe lazy or not productive, or just like you didn't want to do nothing? Your overall energy fluctuations throughout the day. Like I said, that's why time stamping is really important, because you're not going to remember, I guess, how you felt earlier today. So paying attention to those patterns is also a really important factor. And also your mood, track your mood fluctuations throughout the day. Like, when you were happy or sad or angry, irritable, stressed, all the above. And going back to stress, your different stress levels throughout the day, or even anxiety. That's my issue. I suffer from anxiety. I'm very open about that. So I would, pay attention to when I'm anxious and what I'm doing surrounding that. Like, for example, right now I'm slightly anxious, but I think it's because of the coffee I had right before I jumped online here. Because I didn't sleep that great last night because I have a 2-year-old. So in order for me to do this video, I had I downed a cup of coffee just so I can seem like awake and energized for you guys. So I'm sort of feeling the anxiety a little bit. So that's my trigger. So I already know that. So other things to pay attention to are, physical things like bloating or any sort of digestive issues or acne or skin things, anything you think is really relevant. So like those things, if you write them down and you really do a really good job of paying attention to all these different observations, you are going to start seeing patterns. So other things that you can also keep track of are cravings. Cravings are really important too. Have specific cravings, what was happening around those those circumstances? Were you tired? Were you stressed or just bored? Why were you tired? Was it because you didn't sleep last night, so you're craving sugar, right? So you can kind of think back and like domino, okay, I'm doing this because of this. Even if you're just bored, why are you bored? Is it something else happening? What could you be doing instead of craving food, or eating or snacking or something like that? So you can see how food choices are going to start influencing your behaviors and vice versa. So when you start tracking, you start paying attention to these specific observations, you will connect your food choices and patterns. And trust me, you're gonna start connecting the dots, because everybody does. I've done this hundreds of times with people, and they always are skeptical, but then they're always like, oh my God, I instantly saw things, because you eat the same things most days, and your days are mostly pretty consistent, so it's really easy to start to see patterns quite quickly. Something to keep in mind though is that a lot of like how you feel today is triggered from what you ate yesterday or the night before. That's why I said doing it for a couple days so you can really pinpoint like next day behaviors will actually help with that a lot. As I mentioned, I've had hundreds of people do this. I've had college students do this. So if you can figure, like, I can get 18-year-olds who are busy with college and like life, if they can do this successfully, you totally can. Like, it's not as hard as you think it is. It's really just an exercise in learning how to pay attention to things, because the only way you're going to learn how to intuitively eat is if you actually start paying attention with your body and learning what your body is actually doing. And the amazing thing is, these people, I said hundreds of people have done this for me, they were instantly, within like a couple days, able to find and connect their food choices, both good and bad, to their day-to-day life. And then they corrected their behavior immediately without any intervention by me or anybody else. Like, they literally figured it out by themselves and were like, oh my God, I saw this and I did this. And then I instantly corrected their behavior, which means that they instantly saw massive progress in literally days, like such a short amount of time. So promise you, you can do this, and it gives you such a massive amount of information that you can use, and it teaches you something too, because most people, it's one thing for me to tell you about food. I mean, most of you know what you're supposed to be doing. Let's be real. Most of us know we need to be eating less sugar. Most of us know we need to be eating more vegetables, more water. We all need to be sleeping more. We all know that, but we're not doing it for a reason. But when you see it affecting you in your day-to-day life right now, you are going to be more inclined to change, because you actually see it affecting your day-to-day life. So, things when you're seeing your sleep being impacted, which is really the biggest one I see a lot, is people just not sleeping well and they don't really know why, but when they are able to correlate it to what they're eating or, other behaviors, they're instantly able to make that change, and then they're instantly able to sleep better, like it that quickly. Another thing people see quite quickly is their energy levels, which is amazing. They don't, so many people live in a fog. Throughout the entire day, they're tired. They're so dependent on coffee or other stimulants, but they don't realize that the food choices they're making could be contributing to their energy level. So the fact that you can literally give yourself more energy tomorrow is pretty powerful stuff. Same with your mood. If you know you have the ability to make yourself happier, more productive tomorrow just by making different food choices today, and you know exactly what they are, that's amazing stuff. So like I said, it looks a bit scary when you first start thinking about this, but when you start doing it, it becomes really natural, and eventually you don't have to write anything down anymore. You're gonna just paying attention to yourself. You're just gonna instantly know, I ate this, it made me feel like this, I know not to do it again. So you can correct behaviors quite quickly this way. I'll give you a couple examples. So you're like, okay, it sounds great, but what exactly am I looking for? So the biggest culprits that I see for most people is too much added sugar and a lack of vegetables, obvious, right? But the things that they were able to correlate them, so we'll start with sugar. So too much added sugar there's a big link between added stress, so it increases your level of stress. So remember, stress doesn't go anywhere. Things will always stress us out, but how we handle it matters, and our levels of stress and our levels of anxiety can get actually amplified by too much sugar. So think about that. Too much added sugar can also inhibit your sleep, can create insomnia, especially if you eat sugar before bed. Because what happens is when you're sleeping, your blood sugar drops. So if you get like insomnia around like 2 or 3 in the morning, that's your blood sugar dropping probably. So think about, okay, did I eat a lot of sugar before I went to bed? Now your blood sugar tanks at like 2 in the morning, and you're essentially hungry and you wake up and you have insomnia. So that's a big common problem. Too much added sugar can also make you more irritable during the day. It can actually make you more tired during the day, especially if you eat a lot of sugar for breakfast. So if you have something really starchy or sugary for breakfast, it'll actually put you on the sugar roller coaster throughout the day, which will lead you to be more irritable, tired, and because your blood sugar is going through the motions throughout the day. So that's something to keep in mind too. Too much added sugar can also lead to a lot of hormonal issues like acne and stuff like that as well too. So if you suddenly start breaking out and you think it's hormones, think about the sugar that you ate as well. So another thing that I noticed a lot too is lack of fiber, which really means you're not eating enough vegetables. That's what lack of fiber really correlates to, because the things we eat fiber are vegetables, and water too. Most of us are not drinking enough water. So if you have any sort of digestive issues like constipation or something like that, that could be because literally you're just not eating enough vegetables and you're not drinking enough water. Those things also can lead to low energy and sleep issues as well too. So think about, okay, did I eat enough vegetables today? Did I drink enough water? Could that be the reason why I just feel like crap today? So think about that. When you're doing this, you really want to think about the domino effect. So let's say you had a really busy day and you worked late, you ate dinner really late at night. It was takeout because you were late and you were tired and you didn't feel like cooking. So because you ate takeout and it was very heavy, either fatty or sugary foods or just things that really, didn't suit you really well, you slept poorly, which meant that tomorrow you woke up tired. So because you were tired, you reached for sugar a lot more, because when you're tired, you instinctively want a quick energy, which is sugar or starchy things, because you were tired, which put you on the sugar roller coaster, which again made you more irritable and stressed throughout the entire day. And then the more sugar you ate throughout the day, the hungrier you were too, because when you're tired and when you eat a lot of sugar, it actually messes with your appetite and you become more hungry than you would normally. So you're snacking more, you're eating more than you would be usually too. And then because you're tired, you're taking a lot of coffee or a lot of caffeine, which is increasing your anxiety throughout the day as well too. So you could be stress eating on top of that. And then because you're feeling crappy, you don't feel motivated and you were just not productive today. So you can see how the domino effect of, because you did not eat a good dinner last night, how that completely set you up the next day to basically have a crappy day. So you can see literally like that one meal made your entire next day not very productive and not very good. So you can see just that one meal messed you up. So let's say on the flip side, you, instead of getting takeout, you forced yourself to have a good meal. You ate vegetables, you ate protein, you slept really well. So tomorrow you woke up really energized. You had a good breakfast, which included a lot of protein. So you weren't on the sugar roller coaster that the whole day. So your mood, your appetite were really stable. So you were able to continue to make really good food choices throughout the entire day. So because you felt good, your stress was easily managed because your head was clear and you could think through things better. You can just have a clear head throughout the whole day. So you had energy, you were motivated, you had a really good, productive day. So you can see the difference. So you had a crappy dinner, the whole next day was crappy. You had a good dinner. You forced yourself to have a good dinner of just something of just good protein, a lot of vegetables that set you up the next day to have a really good, productive, happy, energized day. So you can see how that matters. So you won't figure this out until you start writing these things down and really, pinpointing these things and really starting to pay attention. And you can see now, oh, I had a crappy dinner. My day sucked. Tonight, I'm going to have a good dinner, so tomorrow I have a better day. You can see how easily it is to course correct in the moment. And that's why I think this exercise is super powerful. Because when you have the power and the confidence that you know exactly what food choices help you have better days and to be more successful, suddenly you're like, it opens up everything. It's like, oh my God, I have the power to do this. I can see results instantly tomorrow. I can actually, create, put the wheels in place to know that I will sleep better tonight. I know that I can handle stress better. I know that tomorrow I can be super productive. I know I can have the ability to literally create my days and to make sure I have a good day tomorrow. And that opens up everything for you. That makes sure you feel amazing, and that gives you such an empowerment because you know you can do this, and it's not as hard as many people think it is, and you realize how easy it is to literally make better food decisions, that the ones that you know work for you, and then you can just keep doing the things that work for you. Okay, so I really hope that helps, and I hope that you try that. Let me know if you try the exercise, if you think it resonated, and if you think that it will help you. Okay, so I have one more video. I wanted to keep this one rather quickly. So I have one more video to help you with finding your ideal diet. So you found your root cause, you know how to correct into day to day. So in the next video, we're really going to put everything together and really make sure that you have a perfect roadmap that get you closer to your ideal diet. Okay, so then finally, you can see massive results in either your weight management, your weight loss, whatever your health goals are. You know you can do this, and you know you have the exact tools in place to make it a reality for you literally right now. And that's all I can ask, okay? So please comment, let me know if this helped you, if this resonated, and if you have any questions, please put them below, and I'll make sure I answer all of them in the next video or in a live. Okay, I promise I'll answer whatever you ask me. You can ask me literally anything. Okay, so I hope this helped, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.